check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Sirius Mindz family, can you all hear me? Let me know if the sound is coming through okay. We'll get started in just a minute. Let me know how the mic sounds. Good evening, my Sirius Mindz family. I hope the mic is okay. From what I'm reading in the comments, it seems to be working okay. I hope all of you had a beautiful day. No matter what comes your way, you still have to have a phenomenal day, is what I wake up and tell myself every day. Make every day a great day. Some of you have received the live stream link for tonight. Tonight's discussion, we are going to talk about this holiday that most of the country is celebrating, and that would be the 4th of July, or as I would put it, or Professor Griff would put it, the 4th of July. Family, I want you to take a minute to make sure that you greet each and every one in the chat room. Make everyone that's new to the live stream tonight or to the platform welcome. Of course, to the family that tunes in every single day, salute to you. I'm glad that you're joining me this evening. I'm still working on some technical things here, but I think that it's running a bit smoother than it did Tuesday. Okay, family, those of you who will be joining me on the platform tonight and that responded to my email, you already have the link to join me in the chat. All of you that will be joining me on the panel tonight, I would ask that when you come into the live stream that you please make sure that your mic is on mute when you come into the chat room for the live stream. Also, if you don't want to be seen on camera, that is perfectly okay. No problem. Just make sure that you have the video button clicked off. But as you enter the live stream room, just make sure that you have your mics muted. So, and I will see when you pop into the room. Once you populate the room, Once you come into the room, I'll let you know when it's okay to go ahead and unmute your mic. Few more seconds. I got a couple more people that are asking for the link. Those of you who have the link already, if you want to come on in with your mics muted, feel free. Just be sure that you have your mics muted when you come in. And if you're coming on with your video, if the video is popped on, make sure that you don't you want us to see what's going on. Let me just put it that way. Peace and blessings, family. Okay. If I have anybody that's coming into the room this evening, again, I would say if you already have the link, go ahead and check your email and it should be there. If you responded to my email indicating that you wanted to be part of the panel tonight, you are more than welcome to come on and join in at this time. I'm also going to send the link to Professor Griff because he may very well pop into the room this evening. And of course, we definitely want his input. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Of course, my son is running in and out of the room. So I wanted to make sure that you all didn't hear him because he'll take over the show in a minute. Okay. Before I get started with tonight's show, let me just go over a couple of things because I want to kind of, as I engage, I'm a very practical person. So as I engage with you all this evening, just know that this is a learning process for me, but I don't feel like I'm alone. And first and foremost, before I do anything else, I want to send a special shout out to Miss Carrie A. and also Miss Quan S. for joining the live stream on Tuesday. I really enjoyed the engagement, the dialogue. I also want to send a shout out to everyone that was in the chat room on Tuesday. I went back and watched the video, and I think one of the toughest things when I'm reflecting on how well I've done is to hear myself. So that's difficult, but I made it through and I realized, you know, where I can improve, because definitely you must be able to understand that we all have room for improvement. So every day is a learning, it's a learning process. So I wanted to make sure that I shout out both Miss Carrie A and Miss Quan S for joining me on the live stream. This is kind of how I want to format the show per se. There are going to be some things as the show grows and things become more diverse. I'm going to have guest speakers that will be coming on. So I have some of that in the works. We're working on calendar dates. So I do have a lot in store for you in the near future. So just to let you know that I'm working every free minute I have to make sure that this show on Tuesday and Thursdays, that I don't let my number one mentor and my brother, Professor Griff, down. So welcome to the Sista Cypha show, where we're going to build as the divine feminine. And we're also going to keep in mind that we have kings in the building that are actually going to come onto the platform and dialogue with the queens as well. So I did send out some links to a couple of our kings that are normally with us who want to actually come on tonight. So let me know, you know, if you want to come on, just come on in whenever you're ready. I'm just getting the opening announcements out of the way. while everybody's getting situated. I know some people probably have to go to a quiet room or get themselves tech devices situated so that you can come onto the broadcast, which is no problem. Also, please keep in mind that tomorrow is Freestyle Friday, so it is what it is. The title speaks for itself, so we're going to be freestyling it like we do every Friday. But today we're going to touch on a topic that actually, if you want to come on whenever you're ready. Dig back in history. Miss Carrie, can I get you to mute your mic, sweetheart?
Okay.
We're going to be talking about a topic that is actually going to get us to dig back into history, much like most of the topics that we discuss on this platform, which is near and dear to my heart because I know that everything I learned in school, I have to unlearn to relearn the true history of our people. So as we come on in, I have Miss Carrie A is already on the platform. I have a couple of resources that we're going to look into. I have a video. I actually have two videos of some audio I'd like you all to listen to so that we can dissect. We may only get to one of those this evening, but nevertheless, we'll just let the conversation and the dialogue go wherever it wants to go. All right, Miss Carrie, you can go ahead and unmute your mic if you have some opening words while I send out a few more links. The floor is yours for a minute.
No, greetings. I just want to say blessed to everyone. Hopefully everyone had a wonderful 4th of July. We are going to get into the root of what it means for our people. So everyone feel free to share. If you can go over, like 16 say, and join us on Hangout, please do so. Follow the links. And let's hear more than one or two voices tonight. Thank you.
Okay. And Carrie, I actually want to start with some of the things that you brought forth, or some of the quotes that you shared with me earlier. Before we actually get started in dissecting this video that I came across, and also some content that Professor Griff shared with me. Rather, let me do it this way, because the teacher in me is actually going to have you talk. I want you to go over those pictures with the quotes that you shared with me, and can you talk to the family a little bit about why those quotes hit home for you? Why did you feel compelled to send them to me, and why they should be shared with the family?
Okay, greetings again. Most of the quotes I researched and I shared, hopefully everyone got a chance to look at them, deals with how little we have come. There has been some quotes from well-known individual like Frederick Douglass. He had a quote that really reached out to me that says, "The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours and not mine." While many are barbecuing, having a great time, we must also realize that sacrifice has been made by our people in order to get to where we at. By no means we are not free completely, but we have made some type of movement change throughout the years. I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in any of the pictures that they see on the quotes, but like I stated earlier, sometimes I feel that we have moved forward, but we go back with certain things, like we mentioned on Tuesday, the sneakers, for example, with the 13th state Confederate flag behind it. Although many were opposed to it, there are shirts that are being sold. I'm not sure if people are aware of that giving new light to segregation and separating us as a group. So I just want to hear from other people, what do they feel with the quotes that were sent, or anything that they would like to share.
And I'm looking at the chat room. I'm trying to get the chat room pulled up real quick so that I can see it on one screen and not two. Here we go. The quotes kind of hit home for me, Carrie, and I'm going to tell you why. They kind of hit home for me, and I appreciate you sending them to me, even though I often see these quotes, because no matter how often we read these quotes or we see these quotes in passing, every time I read a quote from the revolutionaries who came before us, who are no longer with us, or in the ancestral realm, or if they are still with us, I think that every time I do read it, I get a different understanding. I get a different meaning. I can always pull something different from it, which kind of is the same way I feel about books. One book in particular, the ISIS Papers. Every time I pick up that book and read it, and I've probably read it 3 times already. If I start on the 4th reading of it, I guarantee you I'm going to learn something new, although I read that book 3 times. We now have Miss Alex Little, who's joined us on the live stream. I don't know how much time you have, because I know you're always on the go. Are you headed to work, or you're at work? So I'm going to go ahead and let you chime in while you're up here, because I don't want to take, we all want to share the floor. So let's hear from Miss Alex Little.
Peace, peace, 16. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
It's good. It feels good to hear your voice. I know. I'm like, yay. Yes. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to discuss such a heavy topic as this. I'm so appreciative of Sirius Mindz platform overall, to be able to come together with like minds to have resolutions, to discuss solutions, to bring about topics that aren't openly discussed in the mainstream. So first and foremost, this is an honor just to be able to bump heads, to converse, to be around other professional, like-minded, beautiful Black women. So thank you first and foremost.
No problem. And likewise.
Okay, cool. Well, I know I wanted to touch base, and I am driving right now. I'm always going, you know, kids, parenting, and never stops. But I just wanted to chime in regards to the few pictures that were sent via email earlier today that touched base on 4th of July. And those pictures spoke so much louder than actual audible voice, because if July 4th, 1776 was when the Declaration of Independence was first, you know, publicized, meaning put into action to be known that this is what it is, then why were there still slaves being auctioned off at 1836, which was 60 years later? You know what I'm saying? So if we're going to celebrate national independence from Great Britain, why are we using the same behavior that we're independently running from and celebrating openly with other people in the same realm? So that's just important to recognize. And I showed my daughter that, you know, as a young girl, seeing those images, it made her uncomfortable. She didn't know that that was a real body that was burned on that stake. She thought it was a mannequin. So when I said, no, sweetie, this could have been Papa, this could have been your, you know, grandma, this could have been your teacher, it really hit home for her to see that image of that Black man, half his body chained to a stake, burned, disintegrated in a public square, celebrated as a part of culture. So when you really think about things in that perspective and they get graphic and in your face, it gives you a whole different light to the reality of the system that we are still operating in. So it just gives a level of intensity that makes one more aware of what we are fighting up against. And it's important that we understand this, because when we understand the foundation of the system, things become more realistic and it opens your eyes. Because I know for me, I'm coming into new knowledge on a daily basis. So for kids, they need to know this too. And when we are now separating from our tradition and our heritage and what we've come to know to be our reality, and we're like, wait a minute, this isn't congruent with my spirit. This isn't congruent with my heart. Something's up. So when we start coming into this knowledge and information and discovering it and being around other people, a tribe of women that can help us, like Sirius Mindz platform, it gives us the added momentum to be encouraged and have that motivation and that nurturing and guidance to keep moving forward beyond what we've come to know and step into who we are. And that remembrance is so important.
You said a mouthful. You said a mouthful. You know that you and I agree on a lot. We talk on nearly a daily basis through
Yes.
messaging because we're always on the go, one or the other. But you said so much in that short time that you spoke, and it made me think about and reflect about the things that I actually did and taught and worked with my kids on today. Because the first thing my kids did today was they made mommy a card. Okay, and because my kids are very artistic. My twins are 10 years old, and they've gotten kind of bored, and but they're always busy. They're always busy, and they know that today is a holiday because that's what we've been taught. At the same time, I took the time to explain to them when they brought those beautiful handmade cards, because I know that my years are getting short because I have an adult son, and they get to an age where you no longer get the handmade cards and the beautiful stick figure pictures, and they don't color and they don't write the I love you mom and dad notes anymore. They lose that at a certain age. So I didn't want to take that from them, but at the same time, I used it as a teachable moment. And I keep in mind their age, and I keep in mind where both of them are as far as intellect, because and how they learn. Although they're twins, they have two different personalities and two different learning styles, which is something that a lot of our educators today don't know how to handle. Therefore, we have a large number of students who are quote unquote falling through the cracks. That is how it's happening, because you have to meet, just as you want to meet, you have to meet adults where they are. Children are the same way. You meet the kids where they are on an individual basis, and you take them from there. That's the only way growth happens. That's why I have this pull on my heart about whether I'm going to go back for another year or not, because there's so much knowledge that still is to be discovered. There's so many teachable moments, everything in life. And my kids are still in a public school system, but that's going to change very, very soon. And I'm glad that you had that conversation with your kids, because I definitely took the time to have that conversation with them. And as they get older, they're going to know more and more of what our history looks like, good, bad, and ugly. But I want my kids to know the truth about who they are. I think we live in too much in a time where it just, you know, our identity's been covered, our history's been covered, everything's been hidden away from us. And as long as we don't, reach for that knowledge and seek for that knowledge, we can't expect anyone to just hand it to us. Seek it, because if you're waiting for someone to do it for you, it won't happen. You got to start somewhere. Which is why I tip my hat off to Professor Griff, because he's taken that time. He's a very busy man, as you can see, but I was very gracious when he proposed this Tuesday, Thursday slot to me so that we could talk about issues from a women's perspective. And we're not excluding the men, because we definitely want you guys included, but just to kind of hear, things from a woman's perspective, and how we feel about things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I so appreciate it too. Hats off to Professor Grant. Thank you, and thank you to your wife Soleil for emulating the behavior that's necessary for us to even gauge off of what activity is socially appropriate and just culturally available. In 16, I also too commend you because you're very accepting, you're very nurturing, you're very encouraging, you're very loving, and I appreciate you being available in my life for me to rub off of. Sorry for this noise. Of course, everyone's celebrating. But lastly, before I go, because I got to get ready to go to work and stuff like that, I just want to say I totally agree. And one of the things that you said is like teaching the children, it's important that we're tactful and that we're open and transparent. However, we can reach people to where they are at the level that they are. So when it comes to my child in particular, I have to gauge her appropriately mentally and emotionally. So I don't want to break her innocence, but I don't coat things. They need to know and have the opportunity to understand the way things are without jading their perspective and stripping their innocence. Because if we don't tell our children now and teach our children, we're going to send our kids to these systems in hope that they're taught from that particular set of education in the illustrator or the educator. So it's important. But yeah, I definitely enjoy this platform and this particular topic. I'm not too knowledgeable about, but I definitely want to chime in and support you and just tell you I love you. Shout out to Sirius Mindz Scam in the house, everyone. Quan, you did a wonderful job Tuesday. Kira, you did a wonderful job Tuesday. It's so wonderful hearing enlightened, educated women and men. So I'm so excited to see what's on the future for this platform. Professor Griff, you are amazing. I love your talks with Brother Rich on Black Magic 363. I love the way you break down the formula and engage with the questions that you ask and the way you ask the questions to kind of get us to pull out of our mindset and use a different perspective to engage and become more enlightened. So I'm just excited for where I'm at right now, and I'm looking forward to developing with some people that are like-minded and open-minded and who are Black professionals that are educated and that want to grow on this journey and know that their life is purpose. And there's other people out here too going through so much more and beyond for where we think we are. So I'm just excited overall. I'm in a good space, and I love you guys. And so Scorpio 16, you know, I'll keep in touch with you. I encourage you to go forth with your education, sis, because we need you. You are being prepared and in the preparation to be set at that stage to where we need you. So with that note, it's getting loud, but I'm going to time back out and listen to you guys. I love you. I love you. I'm encouraged. And I so thank everyone for their commentation and their perspective that they give, because it helps me grow and become more enriched. So with that being said, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm going to listen.
All right. Thank you so much, Alex. You have anything to say, Miss Carrie, before I start? She's still on mute, but Alex, I know that you're going to still be tuned in, and it's pretty loud where you are at work, so I know you'll be in the chat room. I really appreciate Alex for coming in and chiming in and letting us know or giving us her perspective. And Alex and I have developed a very close relationship outside of Sirius Mindz. Thanks to Professor Griff, I have gained a whole new family. And it kind of hit, a lot of what she said kind of hit home for me, because I feel the same way. And I'm reading your comments. I figured out how to have the comments show up on one computer so I don't have to multitask between two. So I'm looking at your comments as I was listening to Alex speak, and I want you to understand that I am in the process of pulling my kids out. I teach in the public school system. I'm a product of the public school system, and I also teach in it. I've always taken the jobs that no one wants. Let me just put it that way. I've always worked with at-risk students because that's where I felt needed the most. My oldest son was always in a magnet school. And if you don't know what a magnet school is, it's where you have to get tested, and if you score extremely high, you get accepted into that magnet program, and you're around students who are pretty much on the same level of intellect as you are, based on this standardized test. But I'll be the first to tell you, when it comes to taking standardized tests, I'm not the greatest, because I have test anxiety. But my oldest son is highly intelligent, and so I knew that, you know, taking a job at the school that he attended was not where I needed to be. When I made that step forward to go into education and become a teacher, after shifting from working as a social worker for the state, for the system, I knew right away where I needed to be, because I shine back and I reflect back, because I do a lot of self-reflection. And after self-reflection, if you just take a few minutes of your day every day to reflect on something in your life, you are destined to find something that you can improve on. So when I self-reflected, when I decided that I wanted to go and become a teacher, the first thing that came to mind is I need to make sure that I apply for jobs at schools where these kids they need someone who's going to be there for them wholeheartedly. And if I have other educators that are in the audience tonight, you'll understand what I'm saying when I say it is difficult to teach kids who are in, let's say, the 8th grade, because I've taught at every level. I've taught from 3rd grade all the way through 12th grade. So I've taught at every level that you can think of, except for the little babies. I can't do the little kids as far as teaching. So 3rd grade is where I started. And then I've taught through junior high and high school. When I transferred to middle school, my first year as an 8th grade English teacher, my kids couldn't write a paragraph. 5 sentences. They could not put 5 sentences together to at least give me a minimum of a 5-sentence paragraph. So I chose those types of jobs, like I said, because I felt drawn to those kids. So I reflect back on what I did with the elementary kids because they couldn't write. You go in with the assumption, and I learned that my first year teaching, go in and assume nothing. Assume nothing. Because my first year teaching, I was in survivor mode. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I just knew that I had to show up because I was needed there. So when I started my 2nd year of teaching, I learned a lot from that first year of survival. Let me just put it that way. And when I say meet kids where they are, you're going to have kids that come to school hungry. They come to school in dirty clothes. They come to school angry, you know, amongst a lot of other things. So when I say at-risk children, those are the types of things that put our kids at risk for not finishing school or falling through the cracks. Or you have that large proportion of kids who have those huge file folders. You know, they're killing all the trees with all this special ed paperwork. And half of our kids don't need all that paperwork. And family, I'm just going to put it in perspective the way it needs to be. A lot of that has to be, as parents, we have to reflect on that, because you're signing those paperwork. You're signing that paperwork at the end of the day. So we need to be more responsible for the learning of our children. So when I was reading about, or rather when I was reading through the chat room when Miss Alex was talking just a minute ago, a lot of you were saying, yes, we need to homeschool our kids and we need to do this. And absolutely, I absolutely agree with you. On Tuesday, I shared a huge plan, a huge project that I'm going to take on as soon as I'm done with my dissertation, because I need to start up a co-op. And my co-op is going to I'm going to take in kids that I already have been working with in the system and give them an alternative education from a homeschool perspective. I'm going to design a virtual curriculum for them so that I don't have this flack from the state. You know, I've had friends tell me with some input, or give me input, why don't you apply for some money to open a charter school? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want any money from the government, because the government is going to regulate what I teach these kids, and I don't want that to happen. So yes, I'm a conduit for change. I'm a conduit for change. So let's talk more, and let's kind of just refocus back on the 4th of July and how that plays a role in our life. What can we learn from it that we don't already know? And let's dialogue about some things that we do already know about the 4th of July, as it is, you know, how it pertains to our country, how it pertains to our people in particular. Miss Carrie A., you want to add in anything before I get started with this video?
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Definitely, we can hear you, sweetheart.
I just added in for tonight, like I want to do something like Professor Griff would have done. Let's salute all of our ancestors, or those currently or have been in the war. If you want to shout out your uncle by name, your aunt, anyone, just put it in there to give them and appreciate everything they have done so far from the war, from the beginning to now. You can shout them out tonight as we listen to 16 tapes.
I absolutely agree. all of your ancestors that were here before us. If you know their names, some of us don't know some of the names of our ancestors, but ancestors known and unknown, I want you to type their names in the chat tonight, because if it were not for them, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have.
Absolutely.
We wouldn't.
Absolutely.
Yes, we wouldn't have the progress that we made, even though we have a long way to go. We definitely can attribute that to our ancestors. So if you would, please, if you have your ancestors' name, let's put them in the chat room. Let them know that we are leaning on them. We are learning from them, although they are not with us. Please put them in the chat room. And in honor, I sit today and speak for my, first of all, I don't know much of my paternal family, but my maternal ancestors, I know a lot about them. I bear my grandmother's name, and I wear her name proud every day. And I'm named, my mother named me after my maternal grandmother and great grandmother, so I bear her name. And when she passed away in 2015, that was difficult, because at the same time, I found out I had a baby on the way. So that was a hard year for me. But I feel like she walked with me to make sure that everything was okay. And although it was tough, we made it through. My baby boy is here. B-Dub is a handful, but I'm thankful. I'm thankful. And shout out to everyone who's putting those names in the chat room, because we all need to honor our ancestors. You need to always keep them in mind. And I used to always ask, you know, why? When I came into the know, why do we speak to people who've passed on? I used to ask that question until I realized that, you know what, they're still with us. They walk with us. You know, and if you don't know how to talk to your ancestors, here is my absolute little piece of where you got to start. Just start talking. The rest is gonna flow from there. It's gonna flow from there. So I'm gonna go ahead and share. I want to start with the video that Professor Griff actually shared with me earlier today. And that video, I watched it about 3 times. And the video kind of, I pulled a couple of different things from the video, but I kind of want to hear, I want to hear your perspective on it. Yeah, I see the troll in the room. He wants some attention, so I'm gonna give it to him. Clearly, when trolls come in here, they don't think that I can multitask. I can live stream, watch the chat room, and I can also make sure that you're not disturbing the family. We're here to learn. We're not here for the foolishness. So trolls, excuse yourself, or I can help show you the door. So I'm going to get back to the video that Professor Griff shared with me today. The video is also going to be in the playlist that I create every month for Sirius Mindz. So this video is also going to be, you know, where I normally store our playlist. Today, we're going to look at a video, or listen to a video rather, entitled Blacks and the 4th of July. And I want you, as you're listening, because of course, we're going to stop and take a couple of breaks and dissect this and chunk this, because this is the way I actually teach in school. We're going to kind of dissect each piece, but there's going to be certain parts where I want you to hear how all of the other conversations from this week actually tie in to this video today. It's going to hit home back to the very first topic we discussed back on Monday. So I want you to pay attention to that as well. So again, the video is entitled Blacks and the 4th of July.
And it's time to celebrate the 4th of July, y'all. And it's time to celebrate. Going to the parades, call up the families, because we pulling out the grills. Light them up. We got fish plates, barbecue plates. We got hot dogs, hamburgers. For the kids, I want a fish plate and some ribs. And tonight, we going to light up the sky. Lighten up the sky with these awesomes. We went across the having good time. Oh yeah, y'all. It's the 4th of July and it's time to celebrate. Not. It was the year 1776 when these great men signed the Declaration of Independence. It's amazing that when we talk about slavery, some people say that that was so long ago and they just forget about the past. But here we celebrate this event that took place close to a century, 88 years to be exact, prior to the Emancipation Proclamation, which supposedly ended slavery. I'm assuming that they mean we should have selective memory to only those things that make everyone feel comfortable. Many of these forefathers, along with other signers of this document, were slave owners. Benjamin Franklin, enslaver. James Madison, enslaver. George Washington, had 300 enslaved Africans at the time of his death. Overweight Thomas Jefferson was different. He fell in love with one of the Africans he enslaved. If he loved her so much, what did he do structurally to stop himself and his people from taking advantage of her and hers? Nothing. Right. But I have to say that not all of the founding fathers directly enslaved Africans. There were those who were against slavery. But they still felt that the white race was of the superior race and helped develop a system to keep the scales uneven. Basically. And this you can tell by reading a powerful excerpt from the Declaration of Independence that was sent to King George III of England. And it states,
"We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness."
Okay, I'm going to stop it right here. Everyone in the chat tonight should have either heard this excerpt or read it before. I want to take a few minutes to dissect this excerpt before we proceed with the rest of the video, and take it line by line. And now I'm going to be honest with you, from a teacher's perspective, although I had to teach to a certain curriculum, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I didn't, risk actually going overboard with making sure that our students, because I taught predominantly Black kids. I may have had one or two white kids in my classroom, but my classroom was predominantly with our own kids, with my little melanated babies. Okay. And so when we think about this excerpt, it says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." All men are created equal. You think we equal today? I posed this question to you for a reason. It's in the Declaration of Independence. Some of you celebrated that holiday today. Some of you popped fireworks, barbecued. Hell, most of you had a day off. If anything, I take my day off and do something good with it. But I stopped celebrating holidays a long time ago. Because when you come to learn the reason that we have these particular holidays, then you'll come to an understanding as to why, and this is just my opinion, why I don't celebrate holidays. Because I don't feel that we are created equal, or we're not treated equal, I should say. The next part of it says that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't know about you, family, but I don't feel we're being treated equally. Although we all come from a creator, and these rights that they talk about, and the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we have yet to see. I don't know about you, but that's how it is for me and mine. So I want you to really think about when we see things like this that are actually hypocritical in my eyes. And again, you don't have to agree with me. I'm saying this from my perspective. That's why, I allow for other people to come onto the platform if you want to, and share with us if you have a different experience. We want to hear from everyone, and that's why I want to do the dialogue, and allow everybody else to come in, or allow people to come in and share their perspective, because there are people that live different experience from outside of us, and they have something genuine or authentic to bring to the table, or they can see things that some of us may have overlooked, and they bring a different perspective. But as far as that excerpt from the Declaration of Independence, I'm not with it. I'm not with it at all, because I don't feel that we've ever truly gotten equality. I had a discussion just recently with with when I was an administrator 2 years ago, and the guy's now retired. I had him sue the school board because he was in a wheelchair. And for 26 years, this man gave his day, his life really, as a paraprofessional working with special education children in the school system. But he had the cerebral palsy, and as he got older, it was difficult for him to walk. And even though he got to the point where he could no longer walk, he got in that wheelchair and he came to work every day. But by the time I got to the alternative school that I took over, what was absolutely heartbreaking is the pain and suffering that this man had been put through for all those years. Although he was much older than me, he's old enough to be my father. I actually helped him to get a lawsuit. I helped to get him an attorney, and he has no relationship to me except for a work relationship. But because he took the initiative to go above and beyond, to be present for our children, and trying to exist, in spite of, and being a role model and an example for our melanated children, I had to fight for him. I had to fight for him. So I understand why some people feel the way they feel, but at the same time, I have issues with things that are taught in the school system, and we have to often we need to reflect on what are those things, what types of things can we do so that we can truly one day say that we are free. I want you to think about that. What are some things that we can say one day or put into action that will truly make us free?
They said all men, but we humans of flesh and blood, created by our Creator, did not have these rights. The rights of life, liberty, and the pursuits of happiness, according to Europeans. Even a decade later in the U.S. Constitution, they only considered us 3/5 of a human being. I mean, how do you say somebody 3/5 of a human being? I mean, how do you add that when somebody come along? Hey, who wants to do multiplication and division? You know what I'm saying? It's real simple to just say we human, count one as one. Okay, I'm gonna let her get back to it. I'm just saying. At the time of this declaration, we were considered property, like animals, forced to endure conditions way worse than the conditions placed on them by Britain, conditions that they would wage war against. The Continentals, early European squatters, today we call them Americans, were subject to British economic rulership and British police enforcement. They found British policies to be oppressive. The tension was high, and the tension erupted on March 5th, 1770, where Crispus Attucks, a black man, is reported as being the first to lose his life in an altercation between Boston mobs and the British soldiers. A black man was the first to lose his life for the sake of white-on-white conflict, of what the Americans called the Boston Massacre, for a group of Europeans that did not view him nor his kind as human. But ironically, Crispus Attucks was not the only black to fight in the American Revolutionary War. George Washington and other Continentals were not initially interested in supplying blacks with weapons to help fight in this war, for fear that they would have fought an independent struggle against them. The British, however, encouraged blacks to fight and promised them not only freedom, but land to be self-governing. The Continentals took notice and hesitantly utilized blacks to help fight against the British. Many whites would send enslaved Africans to fight in their place, promising them freedom if they served honorably. And so, motivated by the promise of coming from up under this enslavement and the oppression, and from being forced, we fought. Oh, stop the music. Do you not see the irony in this? Here we have black on black violence, willing to kill each other for European interests, hoping that we can appeal to their morality and that they will honor their word and stop oppressing us as a reward for fighting. When the war ended, what happened to the blacks?
Good question. And I posed that same question to the audience tonight. And Carrie, feel free to chime in anytime you like, Queen. Let me run that question back one more time.
European interests, hoping that we can appeal to their morality and that they will honor their word and stop oppressing us as a reward for fighting. When the war ended, what happened to the blacks?
When that war ended, that gave this country their supposed independence, what happened to the blacks? See, because in order to change the dynamic of our people, to change the dynamic of where we want to implement change or be the agents of change, so that our children and grandchildren and the legacies to come behind us in our absence don't have to endure what we're currently enduring, because it's been 400 years, family. So I'm going to pose the same question the young lady is posing in the video. What happened to the blacks after this war?
Hello?
I'm here.
Okay. From what I'm reading is so far, everyone's on point. We have come full circle, unfortunately. It feels like they were dependent on us in order to get things done, whether sharecropping, taking care of their kids. And when the war ended, what they did was they wanted us to depend on them for that house, that food on the table, the clothes on our backs. And it's still going on to this day. We can't make a move unless we have to look towards government, towards the elites, someone to tell us exactly what we need. And sadly, I want us to move forward from that and get out. I don't know if anyone else has some ideas, but I see people are in the chat saying exactly how I feel. We were dependent on them. Now and they're dependent on us before. Not much has changed. And that's just my opinion.
Right. I absolutely agree. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. And Paulie, Mr. Paul Fields, I did send the link to your email if you want to join in the conversation. I absolutely, it's an open invitation for you to come on in. We haven't had a male on the panel yet, aside from Professor Griff. So, Kings, if you want to join in, just let me know. If you already have the link emailed to you, you're more than welcome to come in and join the conversation, or you can continue to build with and dialogue with the people in the chat room. But to kind of build on what Queen Carrie is saying, yes, we've come a ways, and I'm reading your comments as well. The one thing that I do want to hit on that I'm seeing in the comments is I see religion popping up as one thing. I don't think that our people, we're going to get 100% of them on board as far as having an understanding of how religion made things worse for us. This was part of that discussion I had with the father figure that I was talking about just a minute ago. He knows the Bible very well. He's currently a Baptist preacher or pastor. I'm not sure what you call him. I haven't been to church just that long, so I'm not sure. And that's no disrespect to anyone's religion. But what I'm going to say to you is that I do know people who are actually they're into religion. They wholeheartedly live by religion. I grew up in a family, that they were strictly, diehard Christians, Catholics. And so I had to grow up that way. That was something that was placed upon me that I didn't ask for. So as an agent of change, when it comes to my children are not going to be pushed into anybody's religion. As a matter of fact, my kids are learning about spirituality. If they choose religion, after I've taught what I can to them to open their eyes and make sure that they are always being enlightened by the things around them, and that they don't need a religion to keep them in a box, then it would be my hope that as adults, they don't turn to religion. But as a child, I know how it made me feel. So I had to endure it. But as an adult, I'm still trying to find my way, and I grow every day. I've been in search of my soul family because I know that they're out there. And that's definitely one of the conversations that we're going to be having possibly next week. I have some queens that are going to come up here and co-host with me, and they're going to chime in and talk to us about spirituality, not pushing anything on anybody, but just sharing ideas of ways that you can connect with our Creator, connect with your ancestors. They're your ancestors for a reason. They're your guides for a reason. So I have some great things in store for you. And I'm reaching out to as many people as I can to come up here. Because even though some of us may have that fear, if you all don't think that I'm not sometimes afraid to hit that broadcast button, this is only day 2. I'm still working that nervousness through. Although it is easy when I stand before children, I teach like it's, second nature. I've even I've done lectures in front of thousands of people, an auditorium full of people. And when I think about that, sometimes I look back and I'm like, I don't even know how I got through these presentations, because I don't want to call it a shyness, but I'm more of a behind the stage person. If you think in terms of the human body, I would be the heart, the brain, the gut. I'm doing things from behind the scenes to make sure that you're always healthy, you're on time, things are functioning. I'm never the person who needs the light to be shined upon. I'm just here to tell my story, share my life, and hope that I can say something that resonates with you all and that you can take and grow from and find your own way. Because at the end of the day, we all have our own path. But when we're going down these paths, family, all I'm saying is just know that there is help along the way. All you have to do is ask. All you have to do is ask. So with what to kind of go back and look back to this video, the reason I chose to watch it 3 times is because when you watch things or read things at least 3 to 4 times, they will stick to the memory. Okay, I've done a lot of brain research, and I watched this video 3 times, and I know if I watch it a 4th time, I'll probably pick something else up. But it's getting to the part in the actual video that I want to go back. I actually want you to listen for, that's going to shed a little light about something I mentioned earlier today, and that's how does this video, or how does this excerpt tie into everything that we've been talking about this week.
Many that fought for the Continentals went back to life as usual. Only a few blacks that fought for the British saw fulfillment to this promise that they couldn't keep. Those that left with the British went to their new land of Canada, England, Australia, and Sierra Leone, and were still treated as they had been before. Some rebel Africans were given to loyalist plantations or shipped to English slave property in the Caribbean. Or worse, some were sent back to continental enslavers when they became of no benefit to the British. Although our ancestors fought in the American Revolutionary War, many for their freedom, literally, it wasn't until 1865 that we gained our independence. Or did we?
Did we gain our independence at that point? Because you notice she posed it as a thought first and then looped it back into a question. Because the 4th of July, our country, this land known as America, the corporation of the United States, they earned their independence on this day, 1776. So now here we come again. We're posed with another question. After the Civil War, were we actually given our freedom? And in the chat room, thank you for those who are saying no, because in July 4th, 2019, we are still not free.
America showed us a great example of how independence is gained. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. And the U.S. Revolution against Britain also showed us what independence looks like. Bring it down. When a nation or a group of people have true independence, it means that you have...
Let me stop right there. And I'm going to ask the question before we actually talk about what true independence means and what points we need to actually bring forth that actually can give us or what does true independence look like? And this is where I'm going. If you think back, family, I want you to go back and think about the reparations discussion and the Democratic debate information that we had on Monday. And then I want you to think about the things that we discussed on Tuesday. Now, yesterday we did the mic check 1 2 1 2, where we had kings come in and drop some of that conscious knowledge on us, that beautiful music, that poetic flow. And here we are again today. I want you to actually think about, what does it take to have true independence? And there's no right or wrong answers. I'm just throwing the question out there. So let's brainstorm. Okay, let's brainstorm. Let's think about this bullet point critically. What are some of the things that we need that would actually give us true independence? No right or wrong answers. I just want you to be honestly give what you think. What do we need as a people to experience quote unquote true independence? Okay, Flaubert, Saint Hilaire, you're saying tangibles. Hey, I'm all for the tangibles and the reparations. You all definitely know that how I feel about reparations. I'm look, if they're gonna cut the check, go ahead and cut the check. But if I had a say, and I'm only one person, I would say keep the money, because you'll never be able to pay me enough for all the suffering that my ancestors who came before me were put through. There's no dollar amount. In other words, you can't buy my ancestors. However, reparations can come in another way. And this is just my opinion. I'm not saying you have to agree with me at all. This is just my take on it. In lieu of a check, if family, if you don't already know this, the money you have in your pocket doesn't have any value. It's called fiat money for a reason. So when they cut that check, if that's all they're going to give us, be sure you make good use of it before it has no value. But if left up to me, when we speak in terms of reparations, wealth comes in the form of resources, land, things of that nature. Some of our people are built to be business owners, whereas some of our people are not or cannot operate a business. Those were going to be the people who would rather be employees instead of having the headache of owning and operating a business. So those are Black business owners. Make sure we employ our melanated kings and queens. That is what reparations, that is just my take on it. And that's how I feel when it comes to what reparations looks like. I just don't see a check in the future, because how are we going to come up with a number anyway? But back to the question that I posed in the beginning, what are some things that you think that we need to be deemed or seen as having true independence? And I saw that some of you put the cut the check and own our own land. Us, Hassan says us as a people. Okay, Alex Little, sovereignty, reunification with the motherland. Okay, Hassan, a corporation is a person. Yeah, Hassan, that's a whole nother live stream, because I could break that down, but that would take a few hours. Yeah, our names are in all caps when we're served paperwork because you're a corporation. But yeah, that's a discussion for a whole nother day. Number one, the first thing that we need for true independence, someone said it in the chat room, and that's sovereignty. I don't know if you all know what sovereignty means, but you need to look that word up because that's the number one thing we need. I brought that word up the other day in as a matter of fact during the live stream on Monday. We need sovereignty. But there's a couple of other things, because sovereignty is not the only thing. We can get the sovereignty, but then what else? What other elements are necessary?
Have your own sovereignty, which means that you are self-governing, which means that you are self-determining. So what does that mean? This means that you are no longer dependent on or subject to any other people's or institutions' power or will. And with this, it becomes your prerogative to protect your population and your sovereignty. So
let me pose a question to you all. When this young lady just said, true independence is when you have sovereignty and you're self-governing and self-determining. Therefore, you are no longer dependent on or subject to any other people's or institutions' power or and will. With this becomes your prerogative to protect your population and your sovereignty. Do you think as a people we are ready for true independence? Greetings, Miss Kwan. I knew you were going to find a way in. How are you?
Doing well. How are you, my love?
I'm great. And you?
I'm doing well. So a couple of things. I do agree with a lot of what she's saying about true independence. But for us, I mean, look at what it means to be truly independent. You have to be like self-governed,
Right.
Freedom from any outside people or party, skepticism. We have to be willing to or have the ability to create our own economics and the economics be sustaining, have our own politics, resources, land. But I guess I want to ask the question, like, how can we have or declare sovereignty if we are basically cut out of the equation of what we consider American independence? Look at the amount of people who are being killed on a daily basis. Black people, I'm considering.
Right.
Look at the discussion right now on reparations. Reparations in definition is a debt due by trauma caused by entity or federal government. And in order for us to declare that we get reparations, because the number that is being thrown around right now is 17 trillion. We can't even have sovereignty rights, let alone get the reparations talk. I mean, yeah, we are discussing it, and yes, it is needed. And I do agree with you. It's more than just money. But we have to get the government to admit that they have done a wrong to us as a Black people or community. And we can't do that if they don't even recognize us as a human being or citizen, because if they were truly to honor the Constitution and protect the whole layout of what the Constitution means, then we would have more rights right now. These people would be prosecuted. They would be in jail. There would be some kind of punity or some type of, some kind of way that they would be prosecuted for doing us wrong. And they don't. They don't respect that. I saw the news today how Trump was basically, he wanted this whole parade or charade, should I say, of, oh, let's have a parade to show our strength with, all of the tanks and armed forces. And to me, it's a joke. It's truly a joke. These white supremacy people don't truly believe in the American flag. They don't. They truly don't. Because if they did, they would honor the Constitution. It only makes sense if they're saying it, oh, I'm a patriot. No, you're not a patriot. Because if that's the case, then the Constitution would be the lay of the law, and you really don't honor that. Because for one, there's too many caste systems, Black people being the bottom of that caste system, to truly say, oh, okay, well, there's no separation and we're all on the same level playing field. And the one thing is for sure, they can't beat us on a level playing field at all. That's why we have white supremacy in place, because they can't beat us on a level playing field. They know that the minute Black people get on one accord and on code, that's it for them. They can't beat us on a level playing field.
Absolutely.
Plain and simple. You know, so again, this whole charade with let's celebrate Independence Day, we're not independent.
No.
We don't have our own anything. We may have businesses or think we've been made or we've arrived, but we don't. We really don't. You know, we are still, quote unquote, the bottom of the caste system.
Right. And people don't believe that America has a caste system. They think that this is only in the cultures, in areas like India. And they don't believe, I guess, because we don't use the term caste system here in this country when we refer to American citizens. But we absolutely do have a caste system here. And I'm going to go even further and say that Black women are at the very bottom.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I agree.
We are the most disrespected, most underserved. And you know what's so sad about all of this? We are the mothers of civilization. We are the answer, we are the equation, we are the formula. And at the end of the day, we are the ones who are going to bring this all back to one. And they treat us like as if we are the crumb shit part of the earth. And we are the answer. It all began with the Black woman, period. If you go back to Dr. Frances Wilson, if you go back to her and you read about the ISIS papers and you read about, you know, her principles and what she believed in, again, it all started with us. There's no other race that you can mix with and get any other race on this planet but the Black woman and the Black man. Plain and simple.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. And I was just having that conversation with someone earlier this week, that white people, there's a purpose. There's always a reason for the chaos and the confusion. There's a reason, because white people, and I'm going to build on what you just said, Quan, that's because white people truly have studied us and they know how much power that we have. Okay. They know that if we are ever in a place where we can reunite and come together as one, that they don't stand a chance against us. So they create the distraction, they create the confusion, they create the chaos, because you're absolutely right, the mothers of civilization.
Yes.
We took, and Lord, this runs deep. We took getting raped so that our husbands did not have to get beaten and whipped in front of the other slaves. You understand? We had to nurture the white woman's baby before we could breastfeed our own. And people don't understand that shit's still in our DNA today, because they remind us of it. The one reason I couldn't watch the documentary or a docuseries that was done on the Central Park 5 is because I watched a documentary about this years ago, and I was in no way going to watch it again or anything relevant to it, because they are using this as a mechanism to reprogram us. And I'm not falling for the shits anymore. You have to learn when to tune out. Because if you're tuning into it, you become a part of it again. They're just fine-tuning things. They know our power, Black people. You need to stand up and know your power. That's the only way that this is going to move forward. And when you said, when you spoke on a level playing field, they're never going to give us a level playing field. at least not with the way things are right now. So we have to sit down and have these conversations about how are we going to bring this together so that we can have that level playing field or attack this as a unit, because it can't just be a group of people here and a group of people there. It takes all of our people to band together. I know that not everybody, we can't take everybody with us. I already know that.
Mm-hmm.
But we need the majority of those who are ready to move forward to actually see that progress and to not let our ancestors down, because we were sent back here to finish the mission.
See, what we have to do, 16, is take a page out of their book. You see, we've been for far too long trying to beat them at a different mindset. We have to play them at their own game, and we have to take a page out of their own book. You know, we are so busy trying to, oh, why are they doing this to us? Like, why? No, what you have to understand is you have to beat them at their own game. The same manipulation, the same control and domination is the same thing that we need to do as a people. We have to be willing to, again, take the gloves off. Stop being so damn docile. And stop figuring that, oh, a white savior is going to come in and just save us all. No, it's not going to work like that. I'm sorry to alert you and just rudely awaken you, but it's not going to happen. We have to beat them at their own system, their own game. And to start it off, we have to get on page, get on code. We cannot even have a same agenda because we got so many Sambos and bootlickers and bed wenches and, you know, people that are just, they figured, oh, well, let me get on master side because it serves my purpose. It serves me better. I'm going to get these tokens, you know, and it's going to help me push my agenda. And that's the problem that we have. You know, we have to get on code first. Then we can have an agenda. We have a black agenda, but everybody's not on the same code.
Right.
You know, there's books out there about having a quote unquote black agenda. You know, there's some really great authors out there. But at the end of the day, if you can't even get a group of people to get on the same page, we would never beat them at their game. You know, one thing I can give the white supremacy credit for, they're always on code. Always.
I say
they're on code.
Yes.
They're on code, and they are. I'm sorry, 16. Go ahead, Rudy.
All I was gonna say was you hitting. It's like you're reading my mind, because it's that we feel the same way about this issue. They know how to stay on code. And I'm going to give an example of that. If some people in the audience are not clear on what we're saying, let me give you an example of what on code looks like. Okay, we know that there are times that we don't agree on things. Think about it as sibling rivalry. Okay, I come from a family of 5. I'm one of 5 siblings, so 1 sister and 4 brothers. When we fought, you know, because we didn't agree on everything, and as adults, you were not always going to have the same ideas and agree on everything. That's natural, because we all have our own way of thinking. We have our own mind. We have our own way of doing things. But getting on code, you look at the history of white people. They argue just like we do. They disagree and have that sibling rivalry just like we do. But what makes them keep that control over us is the one factor that we haven't mastered yet. And that's to be able to put our bullshit aside for a greater cause. That is what white supremacists have over us. They can put their disagreements to the side. If it means we're going to keep these people oppressed, we're going to keep them in this box, we can't let them out, because if only we release them and give them, or if they continue waking up, you know, our days are long gone. So they can put those things aside, their disagreements aside, you know, to come together for that cause. But as Black people, we can't. And that's what we have to overcome. We have to put the bullshit shenanigans aside and come together if we want to move forward from this.
I absolutely agree with you. If we can learn to get on code, there's no stopping us, period. They can't beat us in sports. in the whole education system. They said the Black woman is the most educated woman on the planet.
Absolutely.
Put that into perspective. You know, they cannot beat us on a level playing field, for one. And then two, if we get on the same agenda, the same tone, and have an understanding that, you know what, all it takes is for us to have a plan, a strategy, and the grit, GRIT, to make it happen, there's no stopping us. They cannot dominate us. But one, we have too many people with outside agendas that is preventing us from doing so. You know, and if we, again, well, I'll just say this. White people, white supremacy, they have, I like to say, two groups. There's white supremacy, and then there's white fragilists. The ones who know and say and act like they're racist, and then the white fragilists who pretend and be in denial and say, oh no, there's no racism. That was my ancestors. That wasn't me. No, I can't. That's not a part of me. That existed a long time ago. No, it benefits you today. You are part of the system. When you turn a blind eye and you don't recognize it and call it out or try to defeat it, then you're a part of the system.
Right.
So I give them credit for that.
I agree. I agree. I mean, they do. It's just, I don't know how else to put it, because you've said it exactly the way I would say it, exactly the same way I would say it. We're on the same page when it comes to this issue, because that's the upper hand they have on us. And that's why I love the way this platform is going and where we're shifting and where we're headed, because if we can talk about these issues, bring forth the issues such as this, you know, and go from there. Look at other people, and that's something else I want to bring forward. Look at other people who've received reparations before us. Don't reinvent the wheel. How did these other people get their reparations? We can start from there. And I know that we'll have to do some tweaking here and there. That's life.
Hello?
Can
you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I would also like to add, I agree with both Quan 16 and some of the comments on chat, but I also like to acknowledge that education is the most important key to also keep getting us in the dark hole that we in. Many of the things that I learned unfortunately in the home as well, but when I went to college, or now that I'm on a chat, or I, participate in a group for Afrocentric so we can get our mind right. But I believe that if we start teaching our children from they're young, we can empower them as well to be outspoken. Many of us were not outspoken back then because we was fearful of what we were, encounter if we step up. But now we are changing, and I hope with education, just like we posted readings, quotes, and I'm looking at the symbolic of what July 4th really means and the fireworks and everything. We need to educate ourselves. While everybody's barbecuing, firecracking, about to lose their little thumb and fingers, they don't really know the meaning of it, and we have to spread that. Sometimes we want to keep things to ourselves, but we have to let other people know. I know we work with Sambos. I do as well. We work with people that don't respect our color, that don't respect what we stand for, and we are the reason why everyone else benefit now, immigrants and everyone else. We, the Black people, what we endure. So education. I don't know what else to stress, but education. And I start in my home and with my children and my son, should I say, and my nephew. Education is the key. Unfortunately, it's a cliche.
Can I just play devil's advocate for a minute?
Yes.
I think it was Dick Gregory that said that Black people chose education over liberation. So we have to be very careful about this whole concept of education. Yeah, you're right. There's nothing wrong with education, but we must first have liberation. And by liberation, meaning independence, self-independence. Because again, if we can have all the education in the world, the HBCUs, which I am a graduate of, I went to both a private Ivy League and an HBCU. But as you can see right now, today it's filled with immigrants. So what has the HBCU, the Boulets, or all these bootlickers have done for the Black community? The National Urban Leagues and all these other folks, they've done nothing. We have not moved not one iota forward as a people. So we have to be very careful of what we say or what we mean about education. Yes, there's nothing wrong with education, but what are we going to do with that education? How are we going to be liberated as a people with that education? Because as the saying goes, if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. Well, I believe that for Black women. If you educate a Black woman, yes, a nation will be liberated. But at the same time, too, you know, what education, how are you going to use it? How are you going to use that as a tool to beat white supremacy at their own game? Because if you're just using it just to go work in a white supremacy system, then what does it mean? It means absolutely nothing at all. It doesn't benefit the entire community as a whole. You only benefit yourself, so it's a selfish agenda.
You are absolutely right. And that's when I mean education, like I stated, what we read in the articles, what we read in books, what we teach our children. I'm not saying I need anyone else to come in and teach me. I'm not talking about the education system. When I say education, I mean what we teach each other about ourselves. Like I stated.
No, I get you.
Yeah,
I'm in agreement with you.
Right. Sometimes I feel like this information, like the July 4th, I'm using this as an example again. Many people do not know, unfortunately, how we struggle, how we were viewed as second-class citizens, and we fought. We was out front, in the forefront, and we died in numbers. Many, unfortunately, because, sorry to say, there are some families who do not sit down and tell their children, you know what? This is what really happened. This is why we treat it this way. X, Y, and Z. That's where I'm coming from. So I do agree with what you say. But, I agree with you too. I agree with you too, but I always like to elaborate and expound on when we put out statements that we are very clear, because if you don't delineate between the lines and establish what it truly means for us, then the message is lost. So I agree with you. Yes, self-education and educating our children are definitely key. But again, like I'm reading right now, Professor Griff is saying, our story needs to be told by us. Right. If we go by what is in the history books, white supremacy history books, then, we get the credit. Exactly. We will begin that our history was started or began in chains. And no, we were kings and queens. We are the first people. That's right. And it's just, this is what we have to teach our children. But at the same time, too, we're going to get education. Education has to be for us to get liberation, to get independence. Because right now, the path that we go on, the trajectory that we're going, that's not the end goal. We're not even platforming. We're more like a down trajectory at this point. So we need to be able to use these keys, and because we are, if you ask me, we are the most brilliant, most creative, most, just absolutely like amazing people on this planet. When you look at hip hop and culture, everybody looks to us for inspiration. That's right. I look at commercials and stuff like that, and I see the hip hop influence, the Black culture influence. That comes from us, and they just feed off of us, and they're like the little slugs, or like they just feed off of us, and it's like our energy is undeniable. Like when stuff gets going, when we get behind something, it's like it's no denying that energy behind it. It's like a snowball effect. Everybody takes wind to it. I've visited many different countries, where I see the influence of America, Black Americans in many other countries. And, we look at it and I was like, well, damn, they look like they could be in New York or Miami or something like that. It's like, but our influence is global. It's global. And it's like we just have that kind of energy about us. And people like to try to deny us as a people. And like to deny our influence on this planet. But it's undeniable. It is not something that we can say, or any other culture can say they have that kind of influence. Yeah, white supremacy have it by dominance, manipulation, and by killings and all this other stuff. But for us, it's like natural. We don't even try, and we do it. That's what's so amazing about us. It's like we do stuff. We can be a dance move or a song or style of clothing or whatever, or just our slang or our just whatever. It's influencing the planet, and it's just not something that can be denied.
You know, so again, education is key.
For
But
liberation.
as far as it's for liberation. It's like, how are you going to liberate the people? You know, how are you going to, it's like, for me as a Black female architect and developer, it's like I'm doing stuff in the Black communities. You know how hard it is in this system when the average Black female architect is less than 0.1%. You know, that kind of influence. It's like you got to break barriers, you got to throw elbows, you got to deal with racism, you got to deal with so many different things. And it's just like, you know, it's telling people, look, build the block, you know, revitalize your own community so you don't have gentrification. You know, that's what liberation is for me. That's what independence means for me, where I don't have to wait on a white man to do it for me. I'm going out and doing it on my own. You get what I'm saying? So that at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I want my niece, my nephew, and eventually my children to see that, hey, mom didn't sit there and wait for a white man to hand her a handout. She went out and got it. She did it. You know, and it's just, that's what we have to do. Like whatever field, talent, skill, or talent that you're good at, you know, whatever tools or iron that you have sharpened, then that's what you should be building upon, whether it's music, education, writing, you know, design, whatever it may be, science. You should be able to build upon that and be able to affect your Black community, because the white people, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. The immigrants, the Asians, the Mexicans, they got their own communities. They support their own, they hire their own, but we don't have that same mindset. Now we have this. Go ahead, baby.
Quan, I like how you ended that sentence, that what independence means to you. And I truly appreciate what you stated. For me, I work in child welfare, so I'm supposed to look out for the children, look out for the family, make sure they're intact. But on the opposite end, we want to make sure that we have numbers, bodies, in order to get paid, these government nonprofit agency. So my independence is teaching the Black family, is teaching the Latinos family that we don't need government. We don't need white people to tell exactly what we need to do for our kids. And we all make mistakes. So I also struggle, like 16, struggle with what's right, what's wrong, how to present myself. But I don't care. I'm outspoken, and I'll tell my family, we are allowed to make mistakes, but it's with the mistakes that you have done, what you're going to do with it.
Yes.
And that's
so
how I feel.
I guess in the chat, I would like to know, like, what does independence mean to you? Everybody that's in the chat right now, what does independence mean to you? Yeah. You know, and how are you going to use that to liberate your people, your family members, the people you live down the street from, your neighbors? You know, how are you going to build a nation? How are you going to become liberated? You know, what does that mean to you? You know, for me, again, I've stated what I mean, for me, it's like, right, because it's like I'm in my field doing my own little thing, trying to get my little coins or whatever. But I mean, I would love to know feedback from everybody. Like, what does that mean to you? What does independence truly mean to you? Not the 4th of July, but for you and what you're doing today.
Absolutely. And for me, like I stated, just speaking up for what's right, what's wrong, and allowing people to know, like I state, you can make mistakes, but what with the mistake you have done, what are you going to do in order to empower yourself and the next person that comes behind you? That's my independence.
That's right. Creating a legacy.
Right. And to add to what you said, Carrie, our mistakes are our lessons. Not one of us came here with an instruction manual on how to navigate this thing called life. So how else are we to learn but through our mistakes? It's what you do when you make that mistake. It's the aftermath of that mistake that truly defines who you are and who you are to be as you move forward in life, as you age, as you marry and have kids, as you move into a career. We were intended to make mistakes because we have to write our own instruction manual, aka our own book, our own story, our own chapters. So our mistakes are lessons. And I say this in other chat rooms when I'm in other live streams. We all have storms in life. They are gonna come. But I live in a state, Quan, you know, it's hurricane season here. So I look at nature and then look at how I can apply it to my life to be that conduit for change. And in that, in that reflection, I say this to you all, family. Your storms in life don't last long. They don't last always, because there's a blessing behind every storm, and the sun will shine again. And you have to know that. You have to know that. So the mistakes you make are the lessons you were to learn in life. We all make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes for the rest of our life, because those mistakes are actually meant to be teachable moments in our life. It's what we do with the mistakes that we make. It's how we use that mistake and apply it to certain aspects of our life to, as Hannibal Lecter says in the chat room, to transform and transcend, like the butterfly.
Amen.
Well, I would definitely say I don't even look at it as a mistake. I look at it as wisdom gained, lesson learned. You know, I hate the word mistake in a sense because it feels like as if you've done something wrong. I would definitely say, you know, like it's a chapter in my life where it was wisdom gained, lesson learned. You know, because we have to go through those trials and tribulations, or those certain seasons in our life where we have to be able to gain a knowledge and use it to our benefit to be able to tackle the next phase. Because as they say, new levels, new devils. It is true. New levels, new devils. And so a lot of times when you go through, it's not a mistake. It's purely to see what you can pull from it as what wisdom did you gain. What knowledge did you pull from it? You know, it's not a mistake. It's wisdom gained, lesson learned. And if you don't learn a lesson, then you're going to repeat it.
That's right.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So it's just, that's how I look at it, because I'm always like trying to be on a positive tip, always try to speak life and light into what we say, what we words, because we have to understand that words take on legs.
Yes,
and
words have power.
You're speaking out things, it reverberates into the atmosphere, and you wondering why you keep going through these cycles. Is because you keep repeating itself, and if you keep repeating it, then your mind starts to believe it. So you have to be able to speak life into situations and be able to build upon that. And I'm always going to speak life into it. I'm gonna be real now. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna be real, but I'm gonna always try to, you know, at the end of the day, be positive and speak life into situations, because again, I know how things attract, and what you speak takes on legs, and takes on action. That's right.
You know what? That's what I say. I'm learning. Yes, keep learning.
That's right. So we just gonna say that it's not necessarily a mistake. It's just wisdom gained, lesson learned. You know, that's all it is, and that's how we grow from things. When you kind of have that mindset that I'm always willing to learn, forever the student, like Dr. Wilson says. You know how she says it. When the student is ready to learn, the teacher appears. So you got to have that kind of mindset. Like, I'm forever learning. I'm forever evolving. Yes, I'm never to the point where I know everything about everything. No, I'm a student in this life called journey. This journey called life. I'm forever learning. So I'm never going to be one of those persons that think that I know everything. You know, so it's just, you just got to be that kind of student and just have that mindset that, you know what, every encounter, every person I come with, two things are going to happen. Either they're going to learn from me, or I'm going to learn from them. Either way, we come away learning something from the situation.
Yep. And I learned a lot tonight. So yes.
So.
Absolutely. And this has been a very deep conversation. And we're going into almost 2 hours. But I love this conversation so much. Like, I feel like we're making a lot of progress. I'm monitoring the chat room, and I see the dialogue going on there, and then the dialogue we have here on the platform, on the live stream, and it's amazing. I can feel the energy, and I feel that our people are gaining something from this. I think that everybody in the chat room tonight can take a piece of this, if not all, can take pieces of it. Because not everything resonates with everyone, but you can take bits and pieces and begin to apply it to your life, to be that agent of change in your family. I'll be the first to say that I'm one of those people that I have to be I was chosen. Let me say that. I feel as though I was chosen to be the one in my family to break several curses that plague my family. So I'm being the change. I'm not going to talk about the change. I'm just going to be the change, because actions will always speak louder. They scream louder than your words. We can speak about and talk about these issues that we are experiencing as a people all day. We could talk about this for the next 400 years and never.
Mhm.
But until you apply what you're speaking, then you won't bring life to what we need as a people to move forward, or as an our in our independent life. And like you said, Quan, it's what are you going to do in your for your community and for your family and for your people. Like, start there, start small, start thinking about ways that you can contribute. We have to start somewhere. We definitely have to start somewhere with because there's going to be some people who don't know the way. They're lost and they're looking for the way. So we need to be able to reach those people and pull them in, and meet them where they are. So start within your own community. See what these people need. And I understand, Quan, you're in an amazing field. Like, what you do for a living is just amazing. The way you explained it, like, there's not very many of you, that are in that field. So I commend you, because I know how difficult that it can be to be,
The only one. Mm-hmm.
because we're three Black queens up here, and I think although we all have different stories and different life experiences, one thing we can agree upon is that we've had to get to where we are today the hard way. We didn't get that head start, or we didn't get that level playing field that other people get.
Exactly. So I think like you're absolutely correct. We all have a common thread. We may have different experiences, but as a Black woman, we all have a common thread. We all have this fight to win in the white supremacy system. And so,
Mm-hmm.
again, as I've shared with you guys, in my field where you got egos and you got white supremacy to deal with, and you got, they have this dear mentality, especially as a woman, let alone Black woman. It's just like you really got to pull your own weight. You got to throw some elbows, and you got to I've had to cuss out some contractors and owners and all of that stuff. You have to sometimes come off your square and just be like, look, God damn it. It's like, look, at the end of the day, look, you can go to 10 average Joe Blows down the street. I don't need your goddamn money. And you gotta really like deal with a lot of egos and a lot of racism in my field. But they know one thing for sure, they can't deny I'm coming correct. T's crossed, I's dotted. You're not gonna play with me, because I know that as a Black woman, we are scrutinized more so than anybody else or any other group. Yes. So I have to come with it. But at the same time, too, I can be professional. I can be humble. I can be, cool down. I'm the most down to earth architect I know. But at the same time, you cross that line, you more than likely will get cussed out if you disrespect me. Plain and simple. You don't want to sit your ass down somewhere, please. Okay.
we don't want that, Quan.
Like, I am not to be toyed with. If you don't like, I've had those experiences where you just like, okay, God damn it, where I had to tell people like, look,
it literally has to be, once you know who you are and you
amen,
step into that character, and you know who you are, no one can knock you off. Even if you have to come off your square, you're going right back to it. But when you get off that square, you have to put people in their place.
You have to
know, like, yes. I'm not tolerating this, and this. You have those standards and those expectations for yourself and what you expect for other people, and don't accept anything less. I meet people where they are as far as respect, because respect is earned, not given. So if you're approaching me with a big ego, be ready to deal with what's gonna come out of my mouth and who you're gonna meet when you begin to come at me the wrong way. Because as you, Quan, I can be very professional, but don't cross me. It's
That's right.
because I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for the greater good. I'm striving for greatness every day, but at the same time, I'm not gonna deal with other people's shit. In other words, like I was never a teacher to sit in the teacher's lounge and gossip. I made my planning time while I was at work doing something else because I don't have time for the gossip and all the other stuff because I'm busy. I'm too busy learning and doing other things or working on something else for my students. I'm always busy. But at the end of the day, I don't allow people to tell me who I am because I know who I am.
Let me tell you something, 16. You know, the best defense tool I've learned in my industry is being able how to tell off somebody without cussing them out or getting loud or ghetto. And they cannot stand that. They hate it because they expect us to be finger snapping, eyes rolling, neck rolling, and this and that. But it's like, no, I can tell you everything that I have to tell you without even getting loud, disrespectful, or cussing you out. Now, what's next? You know, and it's they hate that. Now, every now and then, I come across a racist one who will be just blatantly disrespectful, and yeah, they deserve a good old fashioned down south New Orleans cussing out. You get what I'm saying? But again, you know, sometimes you just have to deal with people and just like, you know, tell them what you need to tell them and keep it moving because you know that you have a bigger battle that you're dealing with and that you don't have time for the pettiness or just the simple mindedness. So it's like you have to know how to trade the fence and just be able to be professional but be cutthroat at the same time. Be humble but be willing to say, hey, you know what? I know I'm a queen. I know what I was put on this planet to do. I know I'm purpose driven. I know all of these things. So it's like you got to really straddle the fence. But at the end of the day, you got to have that soul core principle that, hey, I'm a black woman in a white supremacy system. I know what God has equipped me with, and I know how to use it to my advantage.
Right. You know your worth. Right. You know your worth. And once you know your worth, you stick to it and you don't accept anything else. You don't accept.
That's right.
That's absolutely correct. I agree with you. Well, ladies, this has been, and family, this has been a great show. I thoroughly enjoyed it just as much as Tuesday. I mean, I can't thank you all enough for the opportunity for us to discuss issues such as this. I think that moving forward, this is just going to grow and it's going to get better with the topics that we have coming ahead. And those of you that send me emails letting me know that you enjoyed the show on Tuesday, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am very grateful and I'm humbled by all the messages I received about Tuesday's show. This can only go. It's one thing I said to Professor Griff in text. I sent him a text message just to let him know that we can only go up from here.
That's right.
And that's the plan.
Well, I commend you, 16. I know being the type of queen that you are, you're definitely going to elevate this platform from a woman's perspective. You know, we truly enjoy Professor Griff, but it's always a nice balance to have a queen, you know, have her perspective put in. So it's a great balance. And I truly commend you. And I always going to like encourage you to always, you know, push it forward, keep pushing, keep striving, you know, always to bring out the best in you and creating that legacy for your sons, your children that's going to come behind you. So peace and blessings. I love you, my sis.
Love you too. Carrie A., I appreciate you too, Queen, for coming in and joining us again tonight.
No problem.
And shout out to Alex Big, who did a thing going into work. So appreciate you, sis. You came through on your way to work. So we appreciate you always loving your perspective.
Yeah.
I also like to add that it's good. Also, like Juan stated, it's good to see a woman take that leadership position. And we want more women to also call in, voice your opinion. Don't be afraid. We're all going to criticize each other, but it's positive criticism and affirmation. Right. So more women should get on. More women should chat. Tell how you feel. Don't be scared. We're not here to criticize anyone. Just like I learned tonight, someone else can learn. Someone might behind the scene might have information that I don't have, or that I don't know of, and a way to teach my son and everyone behind me that's coming, you know, the right way and the way to move forward. So please join.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to add to that, Carrie. Well, let me shout out Alex first. Alex and I have been texting back and forth, like I said, nearly every day. Alex has become like a little sister to me. We talk about some things that'll make us laugh and some things that'll make us cry. But at the end of the day, we're here for each other. And I thank her every day because she doesn't know that a lot of days she lifts my spirit. And Quan, same as you. I mean, when I'm in a rut or when I need some help being swayed one way or the other, you always know what to say, when to say it. And I look forward to continuing to develop relationships with you all. And Kings, I want to encourage you to come to the platform and come on the live with us. We want to hear from our Kings as well. And although it's good to have that balance, we want some of our Kings to come on here as well. We want to hear your voice and what you have to say and what you have to add to the conversation, because this platform, like I said, and Professor Griff always says that this platform is for all of us. You know, this is not just a one person show here. He opened the platform for us to become to connect and to be as one. So definitely you all, I encourage you for next Tuesday if you want to be a part of the show. Like I said, I send out the links. I'm going to try to get the links out in closing. I want to let you know on Tuesday I will send out the links to people who want to participate in the show or come on to the live stream. I'll probably email the links 10 to 15 minutes before we actually go live. So if you already know my email address or I already know your email address, some people I just send the link to you because I already know you want to come on or that we communicate pretty often. So I'll send you the link. But if we have any new people in the chat room tonight who would like to have the opportunity to come onto the platform and discuss and, you know, join the discussion panel with us, please send me an email at scorpiosun16@gmail.com and I'll add you to the email list. And ladies, if you have anything in closing, let's go ahead and close it out, and then we'll be back in swing tomorrow with Professor Griff. Ladies, you have closing?
No, I just, you know, just keep pushing and striving, family. That's all I'll leave you with. You know, just remember what your purpose is, you know, whatever you're passionate about, make it a business. You always hear me say that, and I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face or dead off this earth. Whatever you're passionate about, make it a business. Make some money from it. Create the legacies for your children, your children's children, and just keep it pushing, you know, so that we in this system of white supremacy can get our little quote unquote, and I hate to use this term, but American pie. You know, so again, just whatever you're passionate about, people, you know, I love this platform, but I'm always going to come from a business standpoint or perspective. Make it a business. If you're going to be out there passionate about something, you might as well be making money from it. God didn't give you those skills and tool sets just for you to be sitting on your hands not doing anything with it. So make it a business.
That's right. And for me, it's each one teach one. Like I said, I'm a learning progress person. I like to learn. So I will reach out to everyone on the chat to just each one teach one.
Absolutely. So in closing, family, we're going to say our good nights and rest well. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow night in the chat room for Freestyle Friday. Professor Griff will be back on the platform tomorrow for Freestyle Friday. Keep in mind, family, that as we move forward with the Tuesday, Thursday, Sista Cypha show, I'm continuing to brainstorm different ideas on how to enhance the platform. But one thing I can say that I don't have an issue with at the moment is topics, because I've had several emails come through with topics. So I'm going to do my best to accommodate each and every topic that comes in. If it, if we can use it to extract the lessons and apply it to some aspect of our life. So don't think that, I'm not looking at your emails of the topics. It's just that I get so many of them, but I print every single one, and I'm looking at a calendar and trying to fit them in. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close out, family. I want to say good evening, good night. Peace and blessings to all of you, and we will see you again on tomorrow night.
Good night.
Peace, man. Sleep well.
Good night.